OG Maco passed away last night in a Los Angeles hospital, surrounded by family and friends. Maco's coma took a turn and he went into critical condition and was unable to be revived.
News came out last week that he apparently inflicted a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his own cranium.
He was right.
Imagine starting out your career on good footing, like being almost the next big thing that could have happened to the rap game, and just as soon as you even began to make an impact, life threw a defeating punch that changed the course of your life forever.
Scratching my head, I remember like that night, it was like I had a sensation like, man, just scratch your head, and I scratched it, and like a half a pound of flesh just fell off my head.
That is the story of OG Maco, the American rapper who got famous with the track You Guessed It back in 2014.
You was right.
But that was before he recently passed away. So on the 26th of December 2024, OG Maco's family went on to announce his passing through his social media accounts. Part of the statement reads, "With heavy hearts, we share the heartbreaking news of the passing of our beloved Ben, known to the world as OG Maco. His life was a testament to resilience, creativity, and boundless love. Through his music, passion, and unwavering spirit, he touched so many lives and left a lasting impact. His passing has been met with a whole lot of concerns from his fans all over the world. We had different people sharing their perspectives about his life before he passed, with many believing that he had it all going." This commenter went on to say, "Shiz crazy. I remember he was in one of these Reddit talks when we used to host them. He was actually on this sub. Rip to him FR. Then another chimed in saying, "Hate hearing this. Dude had so many things happen to him one after another. Was hoping he'd get healthy and make a comeback someday cause he was really close back in 15, 16. RIP man. Wish you didn't check out like you did." But there was this particular comment that kind of suggested that OG Maco's death was something that everyone knew was bound to happen. But the time was not in the air. He said a big chunk of his scalp came off one time. Then he said the pain was so bad he would watch movies like Hostel and Saw to feel better. I'm surprised he didn't do this a while ago. When people go through extreme pain like that 24/7, they end up taking their lives not long after. Maco was built different, RIP. For us who do not know how it all began, let's walk through it. So after OG Maco started to gain recognition with his You Guessed It track, which gained him a peak at number 90 on the Billboard Hot 100, and also led to his feature in XXL's 2015 freshman class, he encountered a life-threatening car accident which resulted in multiple skull fractures, a broken orbital, cracked vertebrae, and heart palpitations. That is not all. He also almost lost one of his eyes. But despite everything, he continued to trail this path. He kept on gathering momentum and kept on making a name for himself. But all this was bound to end, and it was in a devastating manner. In 2019, Maco would encounter a more life-threatening tragedy. This was assumed to have marked the start of the end of his growing career. He walked up to a hospital after he noticed that his right eye had bulged to the size of a baseball.
The next 2 days, my eye ended up swelling up, and I'm at my boy, Mr. Nice Nice. Shout out to Mr. Nice Nice in Seattle. He ended up at his house, and my eye swells up to like the size of a baseball.
It did not stop there. He also noticed that his scalp was gradually coming off, like in big chunks. Although it started coming off in bits, then it got bad and uncontrollable.
I remember scratching my head, I remember like that night, it was like I had a sensation like, man, just scratch your head, and I scratched it, and like a half a pound of flesh just fell off my head.
In his words, he claimed that he felt like something was eating me alive.
At that point, I'm pretty sure something is eating me alive.
So this made him embark on the journey to the hospital. So while he was there after several treatments and surgeries and questioning, he got diagnosed with necrotizing fasciitis, a rare bacterial infection that is known to affect the tissue under a person's skin, which is also called fascia.
I started Googling everything you can Google, and that's when I realized that it was necrotizing fasciitis, which is a flesh-eating bacteria.
This bacteria infection is also estimated to affect at about 0.3 to 15 per 100,000 people, and it usually occurs when the carrier has exposed injuries, cuts, surgery, and even wounds. So it seemed like Maco's preceding accident might have led to this diagnosis. According to some other sources, though, it likely stemmed from an improperly treated rash that eventually led to the disfigurement of his face. But Maco didn't hold this life-changing phase of life back from his fans. He went ahead to announce that he had been struggling with this disease, coupled with the fact that depression had also set in, so it was hard for him to navigate his daily life. In an interview, he said, "I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to lose my entire face. I almost did. My friend told me the other day that maybe I should share what I've been going through instead of beating myself down for feeling how I felt about it, which I wanted to die a bunch of days." He definitely did not let all that turmoil weigh him down. He embarked on a journey of grief while also making an impact by creating awareness and reaching out, just so to inspire other people who were facing the same struggles as himself. Luckily, he had a way from escaping from that reality. He resorted to watching what people call movies, which are movies that are made to allow one experience the pains that others experience just to relieve their own pain.
I remember distinctly, I was watching the Saw series from like the beginning to the end.
Right.
Because my mind state was like, okay, let me watch something where people are in more pain than I'm in. And it'll even it out.
It does not stop there for him, though. Luckily, he had a good support system that allowed him to recognize his struggle and also helped him through it. In this interview, he acknowledged that his mother was a great influence. Then another friend moved in with him to take care of him full-time, 24/7.
I had one of my homeboys, he like abandoned his whole life and moved up to LA and took care of me like 24 hours a day.
Wow.
You know, day in, day out, at nighttime, waking up in the middle of the night.
There was also external support from fans who always encouraged him by throwing at him uplifting words.
A lot of people would just like walk up and just like give me hugs and like, yo, bro, we see what you're going through. Like, you know, keep fighting, like keep going, like you changed my life.
But whilst all this was ongoing, the worst happened. It felt like Maco had had enough of all the struggles. So on December 12th, 2024, Maco attempted to
News came out last week that he apparently
It's not
inflicted a self-inflicted gunshot wound to his own cranium.
Words were that a neighbor had heard the sound of the gunshot and reached out to the authorities. When they arrived, Maco was found on the floor with a gunshot wound to his head and was immediately rushed to the hospital. He was put in coma for exactly 2 weeks, but he would not make it out. He sadly succumbed to his injuries on the 26th of December. While this is still fresh, let's take a walk through Maco's life. Benedict Chiajulam Ahesiba Jr. was from College Park, Georgia. His debut single in 2014 rewarded with many recognitions, one of which included a feature with 2 Chainz, which also entered the Billboard 100 chart.
You guessed it. Walking around with extra in my pockets. Do next to
This also birthed his signing into Quality Control Music, which was like an imprint to Motown. Then, on to Capitol Records the following year, in 2015. Capitol Records signed notable names like Tina Turner and Katy Perry. So Maco wasn't just doing his thing in the rap game. He went ahead and started his own hip-hop collective called OGG, which wasn't just some random group but a serious platform where he ended up introducing the world to this insanely talented producer named OG Parker. At the time, Parker was still flying under the radar but later became a big deal in the music world, and then in 2016 he decided to get all introspective and creative by dropping an extended play called For Scott, which, let's be honest, wasn't just another music project but a deeply personal and emotional tribute to the one artist who had the biggest impact on his entire musical journey, none other than the legendary Kid Cudi. Scott Ramon Seguro Mescudi, aka Kid Cudi. He's not just an artiste, he's a creative powerhouse wearing a million hats as a rapper, singer, songwriter, producer, actor, and even a fashion designer. He was born and raised in Cleveland, and he eventually made the bold move to New York City, chasing his dream of a music career. That's where the magic began. His breakout song Day and Night, which he first dropped on his MySpace page, went absolutely viral, grabbing everyone's attention and paving the way for him to link up with producers Plain Pat and Emil Haney. Together they worked on his debut mixtape, A Kid Named Cudi, in 2008, which turned heads, won hearts, and even got Kanye West's attention, landing him a spot on Ye's Good Music label by the end of that year. Fast forward, and with Day and Night leading the charge, Cudi dropped his debut studio album Man on the Moon the End of Day in 2009, which was both a commercial smash and a critical darling. Certified quadruple platinum, it gave us unforgettable tracks like Make Her Say featuring Kanye and Common, and of course, the anthemic diamond-certified Pursuit of Happiness with MGMT and Rat-a-tat. Then came his sophomore album, Man on the Moon 2. The Legend of Mr. Rager in 2010, which kept the momentum going strong with hits like Erase Me featuring Kanye and Mr. Rager.
TV, no matter where you go, you might see me. I'm Yeezy.
But you know how Cudi rolls. Sticking to just one lane was never his thing, so he dove headfirst into rock by forming a whole band, WZRD, alongside his longtime partner in crime and producer extraordinaire Dot DeGenius. Together, they brought something totally fresh to the table with their self-titled debut album in 2012, which didn't just make a splash. It went straight to #1 on the Billboard Top Rock Albums chart, proving that Cudi's talent could cross boundaries like it was no big deal. Then, when he decided to go back to his solo grind for his third album, Indiecud, in 2013, he came out swinging again. The album shot up to #2 on the Billboard 200, and it blessed us with the unforgettable platinum-certified track Just What I Am, featuring King Chip. But here's the twist. Indiecud also marked the end of his good music era, and after parting ways with Kanye's label, Cudi ventured into more experimental territory with Satellite Flight, The Journey to Mother Moon in 2014, and Speedin' Bullet to Heaven in 2015. Now, let's be real, these projects weren't exactly for everyone, and the reception was a bit mixed. But that's the thing about Cudi. He's never afraid to take risks, even if it means some people don't fully get it. Also, in 2015, Kid Cudi took on this quirky and fun role as a bandleader in the IFC comedy series Comedy Bang Bang, showing off a whole new side of his creativity. And of course, in true Cudi fashion, he didn't let that slow him down. He roared back onto the scene in 2016 with Passion, Pain, and Demon Slayin', an album that felt like a return to form and reminded everyone why they fell in love with his music in the first place. The critics were back on board, and tracks like Surfin', featuring Pharrell Williams, brought this infectious, feel-good vibe that you couldn't help but vibe with. Then, just when you thought he couldn't surprise us anymore, he reunited with Kanye in 2018 to form the dynamic duo Kid Ghosts, dropping a self-titled album that was equal parts groundbreaking and critically adored. But wait, it doesn't stop there. In 2020, Cudi teamed up with Travis Scott for the explosive single The Scotts, which didn't just chart. It shot straight to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, marking another massive milestone in his career. And as if that wasn't enough, he capped off the year with Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen, a long-awaited sequel that wrapped up his legendary Man on the Moon trilogy. The album was a huge hit, both critically and commercially, and it felt like Cudi had come full circle, bringing everything he'd built over the years into one epic, cohesive masterpiece that reminded everyone just how much of a trailblazer he truly is. In the same 2020, he popped up in the HBO miniseries We Are Who We Are, which, though it didn't last long, added another interesting layer to his acting career. But 2020 wasn't just about acting for Cudi. He made a major power move by launching his very own production company, Mad Solar, which, true to its name, came in blazing with its first release, A Man Named Scott, in 2021. This documentary was such a heartfelt deep dive into his life and career, offering fans a closer look at the journey that shaped him into the artist and person we know today. In 2022, Cudi paired his 8th album, Intergalactic, with a Netflix animated special of the same name, both of which were widely praised. And by 2024, he'd shifted gears again with his trap-inspired 9th and 10th albums, Insano and Insano, Nitro Mega. Beyond music, Cudi's also made big moves in acting, appearing in HBO's How to Make It in America back in 2010 and starring in films like Goodbye World, Need for Speed, Entourage, Bill and Ted, Face the Music, Don't Look Up, and X. Oh, and did I mention he's also launched his own record labels, first Dream On and later Wicked Awesome Records. This guy really is the definition of a multi-talented artist who never stops evolving. And let's talk fashion, because Cudi doesn't just stop at music and acting. He's a serious player in the style game too. Over the years, he's teamed up with some of the biggest names in fashion like Giuseppe Zanotti, the late great Virgil Abloh, Bape, Coach, Adidas, Calvin Klein, and Levi's, lending his unique vibe to their campaigns. Then in 2022, he leveled up even further by launching his own clothing line, cementing his status as not just a trendsetter but a full-on force in the fashion world. Taking all of this account of Cudi, it is no wonder Maco had decided to musically look up to him. But at just 32, he committed S-Side, and his short-lived impact is still vibrating the walls of hip-hop. What memory of Maco do you have?